Bungie, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Bungie just released a state of the game for Destiny 2, and it has players talking in not good ways. I have seen the player base upset before, and there's been one time where I've seen the player base get to the point of being really apathetic. And I think Bungie might have just done that again, made the player base really apathetic. We're going to talk about the state of the game they just released right here and break it down and why it's just such a bad look right now. But I'm LittleBobby here with 59 Gaming Direct. We do all sorts of videos on all sorts of games, but today we're talking about Destiny 2. So if you're brand new here, subscribe if you enjoy this content and leave a like. And if you don't like this video, make sure to leave a dislike and let us know in the comments what we could do better for next time. So let's get right into this video. We're going to be talking about deep dive, right, quote unquote, that Joe Blackburn does with the state of the game for Destiny 2. And he talks about a lot of stuff and uses a lot of words to really say nothing. And I think it's got the player base kind of upset because player base has had a lot of concerns involving ritual activities, core activities, right? Things like PvP. PvP is a big deal to a lot of players, Destiny 2. Strikes. I love strikes, and I wish they would do more with the strike playlist because that was my favorite thing to do for a long time, and now it's kind of lost its luster. And Gambit has just felt like it's abandoned for a couple of years. I mean, going on like 2 years almost. So let's talk about what they talk about, because they go on to say, hey, ritual updates, we hear you. We want to make something simpler. So instead of doing 3 games of Gambit, 3 games of Crucible, 3 Vanguard strikes, I think it's like 5 Vanguard strikes now, but instead of having to do that, you could just do all of them in whatever playlist and we're going to give you your rewards. Now they say they did change the weekly ritual challenge rewards to exotic engrams to give everyone consistent sources of materials, but that also means they took away the pinnacles for free-to-play players, which is really kind of silly. That means the only ones you can get, I think, are like Nightfall, maybe, because you have to pay for Trials of Osiris, you have to pay for the expansion. That might be the only one left for free players, and the clan one, I believe. If you're in a clan and you're a free-to-play player. So there's going to be much fewer options for free-to-plays to get pinnacles now if they're keeping the exotic engrams in the ritual playlist like it sounds like they are. They also talk about, hey, we're going to give you new fresh weapons and let you focus them. Well, like, you already give us the fresh weapons and they're not ever that great. So letting us focus them, cool, I guess. That just seems really lackluster. But then they break into specifically what they're doing, and they go first into Crucible and say, hey, we're designing a new Crucible map. We've got a new Crucible game mode coming called Relic. We have another one coming called Checkmate. Relic is going to be a kind of a party game mode where you can use like the Aegis from Vault of Glass, or the Scythe from the Leviathan, or the Synaptic Spear from the Battleground, Season of the Risen Battleground. You can use those and just kind of go crazy. I feel like the Synaptic Spear would be pretty busted with the teleport ability it has, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they balance that, or maybe added a long cooldown. Checkmate is going to be for those really hardcore Crucible players who want to play like sweat matches, right? Like, it's going to be basically focused on primary engagements, which I think is good because a lot of players have wanted that for a long time. But one of the things that keeps PvP fresh is having new maps to play on, and they basically say, hey, we're not really going to do that. We just don't have the time and the resources. And that's going to be a theme as we go through this that you're going to see, because I read through all this already and but they go, hey, we also have the new competitive division emblem, and we're going to have a new competitive division gun like in a couple seasons. So like, that stuff, that's not content. Like, sure, it helps, but like, I don't get excited going like, yeah, like new game mode. Like, that doesn't get me as excited as new map. New map really makes things feel fresh because you've got to play like 10 to 20 games on that new map when it comes up in the rotation to really get your head around exactly where everything is, right? To know where the lanes are and where the choke points are and all that. You really got to play a couple games and get to know it, the ins and outs of it. And that to me is worth way more than a new weapon or a new game mode or what have you. But they say they don't have the time and resources because, they have to make the story missions and the exotic mission. Well, yeah, the story missions, that's what they charge for. So they got to make sure that pipeline is still going. They say there's going to be matchmaking improvements. Last time they said that with the skill-based matchmaking, it got worse. So we'll have to see how that plays out. There's going to be new Iron Banner stuff. New Iron Banner mode, they say. New Hake aggressive Strand Pulse Rifle in the competitive division in Season 23. So they're bringing back the Citadel map from 2018 from Forsaken into the Crucible in Season 23. So I guess these are good things, but I don't like that they're going, hey, we're not really going to develop maps like you guys want. Sorry. Vanguard. Vanguard, they say, hey, it's pretty healthy. It's got a lot of people. We're adding Vanguard medals. That's fun. You know, I always thought that was a good little addition. You're not going to get all of the Vanguard medals that were available in Guardian games, because that's where Vanguard medals come from, but you're going to get a lot of them. They say it's not going to be all of them, so don't expect finishers to grant you a medal in your Nightfalls, right, to boost your score. I feel like strike scoring is a fun thing, but they also recently focused more of our team's resources into varied and frequent seasonal activities such as battlegrounds that can later make their way into Vanguard playlists alongside our strikes and eventually serve as new additions to Nightfall and Grandmaster playlists. And this is another kind of thing of like, we're not going to develop new strikes themselves. We're just going to like make the seasonal content and then throw it into the strike playlist. And like, that's disappointing again, because, you know, it's just them trying to now profit off of the story thing twice, right? They're like, well, we can't do new strikes, but we can just recycle it. So like free-to-plays can play it a season later, I guess. So why should I pay for it then if I'm only a PvE player? But that's just me, right? Say they're going to be adding other Battlegrounds Season 22 and Season 23 Grandmasters. Gambit, they basically have abandoned. They say we don't have plans to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit. We do have a few updates planned for the year of the final shape. They're going to be adding in the Dreaming City map, Cathedral of Scars, back, which is one that they took out, and they're going to be adding the Shadow Legion from LightFall and the Elusive Hive from the Witch Queen in as enemy types. So I guess it's cool. That's a little bit of a new dynamic, but again, doesn't feel fresh. Just putting a new enemy type in the same maps that have been there now for like 3 years for Gambit. They do say, hey, at least you don't have to play Gambit for your reward every week anymore. And I think that's wild. They're basically going like, yeah, we know you don't want to play it. And they go even further saying, hey, you're not going to have as many weekly challenges in Gambit, probably because they see everyone waits till week 10, plays like 5 or 10 games of Gambit to get as many of those challenges done from their seasonal challenges list as possible. As quickly as possible, and then they check out a Gambit again until the end of the next season, where they can do that again. They're going to be adding Fireteam matchmaking instead of the freelance node, which, you know, I prefer just having freelance and just letting me make the choice, but whatever. Armor set rewards. So players rightfully called them out, saying, hey, you said you were going to make a set of ritual armor, Vanguard, Gambit, Crucible armor, every year. And in Lightfall, you didn't do that. What's up? What's going on? Like, you said you were going to do it, and now you're not. And they said, oh, hey, you guys call us out on it, and you're right. But we don't have the time and resources to make those. So we're going to make one for Lightfall, or for Final Shape. But sorry, we didn't make one for Lightfall. We just didn't have time to do it. It's convenient, though, again, that they have the time to make all the ones in the Eververse. There's at least 2. And I think there's 3 now, because there's a season event every season, right? So there's generally like 3 sets. So, I mean, it just doesn't feel good, right? To like, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a minute. You know, they say, considering these sets have a historically low adoption rate as both base armor and cosmetic rewards, and it's been challenging, we didn't make one this year. Yeah, right? Okay. But they say there's going to be a new Trials of Osiris one. Looks kind of like a bear theme on a Titan. It looks okay, but still disappointing. They always make a Trials one, and I feel like they know they have to, because that is paid for content, right? So when you're paying for it, you know you're worth more to Bungie, and I guess that makes sense, but it doesn't feel good because I pay for it, but I still want like the core stuff. Game security, they talk about how they're improving security. We know, right? They're banning Zim and Cronus users now. They're updating BattleEye. You don't need to hear about that. Nobody cares. They've updated stability, which is good. There was a period for like a month where, you know, I haven't been playing very much lately, but there's a period for a month where I tried to log in once a week, and 3 out of the 4 times that month, the game was down. Like, I hadn't even been paying attention to Twitter very much, but the game was down. I was like, come on, man, what's going on here? I can't log in because your game's like just dead. And yeah, it ends up being, you know, something that they're trying to fix, and it looks like they're doing an okay job. But hopefully it improves with the release of Season 22. They say they're also going to update the season structure, right, and change it, which I think is... They do that. The season structure has been the same since Shadowkeep. It's been exactly the same. since chat, it's like 4 years of it being exactly the same, and it's just boring. There's sure been seasons that are a little cooler than others, either thematically or with the activity or what have you. But please change something. Like, I would be fine if they did like a 6-month season, right? 2 seasons a year. Kind of like they did in Taken King, if you remember that, where they did the April update and it was big. Like, do the expansion and a season that's big, and then like 6 months later, do another season that's big. And then when you got that season, right, it doesn't have to be as big as 2 seasons, but it could be like a season and a half, and then take that other time to work on the ritual stuff. It's just wild to me. Quality of life upgrades. You're going to be able to like favorite shaders, 100 shaders, ornaments, and emotes. So if you have like a set of favorites, you can put on your favorites list, and that way you have those shaders. That means you still have to go through your shaders, but you'll at least have some favorites that you'll be able to use. Stasis aspects are going to be moved to the vendor system, so you just buy them instead of having to unlock them through ridiculous quests. Transmats will now be unlocked, which is great. You just unlock it, and then you go to your ship and put a transmat on instead of having to go to your collections, pull it out, get it into your inventory, then from your inventory, put it on a ship. It was always a weird choice, and I'm glad they're just like, your whole list of transmat effects will be under your ship. Wish Ender is getting moved to its own just special quest that you do. Just good. Resources tabs for new players. It's going to let you know, hey, what does a treasure key do? What does a strange coin do? What does an exotic cipher do? That's great. Great addition. Lets you know what to do with these things you may get if you're a brand new player. Iron Banner challenges are being split. So if you want the pinnacle, you do have to use a seasonal subclass like Solar, Void, Strand, whatever. If you want the reputation reward alone, you don't have to do that. So you can just play Iron Banner like 2 matches or 3 matches, and then you have unlocked the boosted reputation. If you're not, you're like, oh, I'm already full pinnacle, I don't need the pinnacle reward, I don't care, or I just don't want to play that class. Like, sometimes you just don't want to play a class. Gonna be new strand aspects: Whirling Maelstrom for Hunter, Banner of War for Titans, and Weavewalk for Warlocks, and that's a season 22 next season. So in a couple weeks, new aspects for strand for the 3 classes. Exotic Armor Reworks Part 2. They're going to be doing more exotic revamps on pieces that people still aren't using, because there's a lot of pieces that are still really bad, right? New weapon subfamilies. They mentioned this the This Week in Destiny a couple weeks ago. Like, they're adding an aggressive hand cannon, a 2-shot hand cannon. It hits pretty hard. They're making that its own kind of subfamily instead of just a single legendary that does it. And they're likely going to do that with a couple other types of weapons, adding just new archetypes to the families. There's going to be weapon tuning preview. They're going to be kind of tweaking the optimal engagement ranges for the mid-range weapons so that they're closer to each other. Like, some pulse rifles go to like 44 meters, whereas hand cannons are maxing out at like 29, 32. Like, if you have the absolute god roll with opening shot, right? So that's a big discrepancy. And like that 12 meters, like a pulse rifle can gun you down a lot of the time in that 12 meters. And then slightly reduce the average range, engagement range in Crucible by pulling the maximum damage fall-off distance from many weapons. I think it's a great change. Too many people with pulse rifles and scout rifles in the back of maps nowadays. Let it so you can run up with an auto rifle and what have you. They still need to tweak SMGs because they're a little too strong for way too long of a distance. There's going to be other changes like hand cannons getting buffs in PvE. There's going to be sword changes like sword guarding and things like that. They say Touch of Malice specifically is getting a tweak. I don't even think I have that yet. Perks such as Bipod, Envious Assassin, Over Under will become much more useful in season 22. So they're going to talk about that later this month, they say. Then they go on to kind of reiterate their goals, but they also say that, hey, we're going to have that LFG, I think in season 23. They're going to call it Fireteam Finder. It's their LFG. It's actually going to be in the game. So like by the time it's coming up on Final Shape, they're going to have an LFG in the game. It'll be 6 full years, I guess, going into year 7. They're going to have an LFG for the game, which is cool. Joe Blackburn, thanks you for taking the time to read this. And like, Joe, I like you, man. I do. I feel like also like Joe Blackburn is a guy who really is passionate about the game and cares about it. I feel like Bungie's like corporate side is kicking in hard here and going, hey, we're not giving you money to have more people to work on like the basic stuff. We need the stuff that makes money to make more money. They just increase the price of the seasons. They're basically saying, hey, if it's not making us money, we're not working on it. Right? We're not actively working on it. Vanguard gets lucky because you know, the strike playlist does get bolstered by those battlegrounds, but it doesn't feel the same as like a strike, you know. Strikes always felt great and unique, and the battlegrounds feel very, very just samey, all of them, at least in my opinion. But there was a thing about GDC, and we'll link it somewhere up in the top, probably top here, somewhere. There'll be a card that pops up. I will link it down in the description too. Talon did a video on the GDC conference where Bungie said, hey, don't over deliver. Don't drive up expectation from your player base. If you over deliver, it creates this higher expectation, so you have to match it or go higher next time. And a lot of people were like, well, you know, guys, you're taking that out of context. Don't worry, they're not really meaning that. And Talon was like, no, this sounds real bad. And we're seeing that that's what they're doing now. They're under delivering, like intentionally under delivering, going, we're just not going to work on this. Sorry, we're not going to do it. And to me, that's just feels bad as a player who's been playing this game for almost a decade, like Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. It feels really, really bad to feel like now, instead of like a community member, like I felt like for a long time, I'm just like a wallet to Bungie. Like, guys, please over deliver, right? Like, it's as simple as that. Like, I absolutely love Destiny as a franchise, but I've tuned out lately because it feels like, you know, feels like we're wallets and nothing more. And Aztecross did that video that blew up, right? It's like got like 1 million views on how it's just a microtransaction hell. And this, I feel like, reinforces that more than anything. This letter, like, while there's a couple good things in there, like favoriting your shaders and stuff, like that's cool. And LFG's coming, cool. Like, you've been saying that for like a year and a half. At the end of the day, the big takeaway is like, they're like, oh, you want the ritual, like the most fundamental part of the game to be improved? No, we're not going to do that. Sorry. You got to pay for stuff. It's an unfortunate reality of the world we live in, and the fact that Bungie has realized that they have a dedicated audience that's going to pay them to do things. You know, if you're someone like me, like I've played this game enough, like if on the 22nd, the final shaping doesn't absolutely blow me away. Like I go, oh my God, this PvE looks like it's going to be better than Taken King and Rise of Iron and Forsaken all combined. Like I feel like I don't have a reason to buy the next expansion. I've had friends go, oh, you got to see it out. You got to see the Light and Dark saga out. I'm like, but why? Like, I feel like if I'm going to play that story, and then that's basically going to be it, because the seasons are going to be the same. The core playlist, they just admitted in this state of the game, like, we're not doing anything with that. I don't see a reason personally, unless they absolutely blow me away, to invest any more time into expansions for the game, because like I'm just not digging it. Like, I've been taking a break, and even when I go back, I'm like, I don't know. And then they said we're gonna have a state of the game, and I was like, okay, maybe they realize what the problems are, and they're going, hey, we're trying. Even Lee saying like, hey, we're trying, but here they didn't even say, hey, we're trying. They were just like, hey, we're just not gonna do it. Sorry. You know, what do you think about this? Are you upset? Like, I'm upset about this. Like, I don't feel good about this, and I know a lot of players are upset about this. What do you think? Do you think that like Bungie is just kind of throwing their player base the smallest thing they can to get the money, like I do, or do you think like, hey, no, they're actually trying, but maybe this just came out wrong? Maybe they just communicated it wrong? Are you excited about Final Shape still? Like, are you excited about season 22 or 23? Like, let us know. Like, I would love to know. Like, if you're a serious Destiny player and you know you have read this and taken away from this breakdown, like the things that I have, are you feeling good about Destiny 2 right now? Really, I would love to hear what you got to say, because I think it could be, you know, it could be misconstrued, I guess, but it doesn't look good to me. And I haven't talked to anybody who goes, yeah, that was great state of the game, really instilled confidence. Like, no, nobody is saying that right now. So let us know down below. And if you made it this far, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button if you enjoyed this video. If you stayed this far and you didn't like it, hit that dislike button and let us know in the comments what we can do better for next time. Again, I'm LittleBobby here with 5 Gaming Direct, and you know, I love talking Destiny. I love Destiny. I'm just hoping that we get something a little better. But thank you again so much for watching, and I hope we see you soon.